What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Just having a little technical difficulties. I didn't my intro video. I couldn't find it at the time. But how's everybody doing? We got a great show tonight. I got a great guest lined up. Um, we met through Instagram. I've been following his page. He's like a basketball coach. He has a lot of skills video. He's definitely got the type of vibe that I wish I had when I was young. You know, the game is broken down today. Our young people got so much access to information. So he's one of the great minds of the game, and just a great mind and a great man in general. And I'd like to introduce my guest, Mr. Dorian A. Lee. How you doing,
Hey
brother?
man. So now I like that intro, man. I need to pay you more often to come out and just hype me up. You got to get a hype man.
Oh, no doubt, man, no doubt, man. I couldn't find my personal intro video, but it's all good. We're gonna get right to it. First of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, how you come across my information, my type of content, and like just give us a little background on yourself and how you got into the game of basketball and your basketball history.
You know, when I came across yours, I think with the video that has now become famous, the video you were talking about not being able to identify certain women based on who they are around, right? And I think we all know that there is some some truth to guilt by association. So that was really the video. I said, okay, a brother has a really good head on his shoulder. I didn't know where it was going to go, but you handled it, I thought, with grace and with kindness in a way, man. I mean, you could have gotten rowdy or gone there in that particular situation, but I thought you handled it with grace. And so I started following some stuff and taking a look, and I said, okay, man, I like his stuff. I like where he's going. You seem to have a heart for the community. And so for me, basically what I do, I'm an evangelist, but it's, my pulpit is basketball, it's the gym. And, I'm really high on using basketball skills to teach life skills, to teach the understanding of what it takes to be successful in life. I don't think anything that I do is reserved for just the court. I think everything I do is reserved for life. I mean, if you get good at what I do and the way you approach it, I think you're going to be good in life. So that's really, how I got connected to watching some of your videos. Now, how I got involved with the game of basketball, my mom put it in my hand. And for those that, are historians, my mom was an athlete, played at Alabama State basketball. She ran track for Evelyn Lewis, who is Carl Lewis's mom. So this was, in the 50s before it was even really fashionable. So my mom was the one that really kind of got me hooked on sports, had me in gymnastics early and some stuff that I bucked. But she was trying to prepare me for the future as well as my dad. And, I bucked a lot of that stuff. I didn't like it. I was just a pure athlete. I wanted to compete. I was aggressive. And, it kind of reared its ugly head sometimes in school, sometimes with my peers. But I was very, very competitive. So, started playing basketball in second grade. Don't really remember much around that time, but third grade, I just remember I was really, really good, at my level. I was in private school and I was just an athlete. I could out jump, outrun. And so I just was like, man, damn, this is kind of easy. And, it progressed from there, it was good all the way up to about seventh grade. And then I went to my eighth grade year, went to public school. And so my mom, I got an old school mom, and she was like, you giving me so much trouble over here at private school. I can't wait till these boys come over here and whoop your ass at public school. And I like to know that I whooped my ass in public school than I ever did in private school. But, exactly. It just helped me understand, too, the differences. And I knew what they were trying to do. So I was just, man, I was bucking. Hadn't grown that much. So I didn't get cut. I was about to get cut. My eighth grade year, quit. Ninth grade, about to get cut, quit. And then 10th grade, I came back and I was one of the best players of my high school in 1 year. So it was really there. And, should have been varsity that year, played JV. Next year was varsity, had knee surgery, set out a good portion of that year. And then my senior year came back, was second in the city in scoring behind Antonio Lang, who was Grant Hill's roommate at Duke, and now an assistant coach with the Atlanta Hawks. And that was it, man. Ended up going JUCO with the knee surgeries. Didn't have a lot of offers. Went JUCO. Ended up getting multiple Division I offers. Settled on the University of North Florida. Got into it with my coach. Came back by last year at Spring Hill College, NAIA, #4 in the country. We were really good, and closed out my career. Played a little bit in Mexico and Austria, and I was in corporate America for a while, bro. I was a pharmaceutical rep. I was in consumer finance. I was in mortgage banking. So, I had a very successful career in corporate America before I ever ventured into this basketball training. But, I had some real estate, man. The bottom fell out, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go play again, and started to get back in shape. And that's when I went over to Austria, had a tour, played extremely well, had some offers. All of them fell through. And I took it as a sign. It was time for me to come back and set up shop in the world famous run and shoot. And so that's how I got a lot of my notoriety, because I was still playing. I was still super athletic. So I looked the part, I could compete, and then I could teach, with my background. So that's kind of how I got started with it. It started with one kid, Alex Salcedo. And I always remember it's one kid. And when I saw that first check, I realized, you know what, I can make this a business, and turned it into a business, man. 7,000 kids later, 19 countries, every level, beginner all the way up to the NBA. We've left our imprint on the game, in my opinion. I think it may be some more for me to do, but if it ended tomorrow in terms of the basketball, I would be really, really thankful for this journey and the lives that have been impacted and those that have impacted me.
Exactly. That's great. So how do you feel about the modern game today? How do you feel about the modern game?
I think it's in a very sick state, and I think a lot of people will agree, and there will be a lot that disagree. And I think this is just like any other polarizing topic in our community, whether it be male, female, whether it be old, young, whether it be black, white. It's just this old head versus YG. And what we're trying to explain is that I don't believe, number one, that everything in our game was right. Like I didn't like our style of play, so to speak, but I did like the basic tenets of basketball, which is competition, which is strategy, work ethic, teamwork. I like those things, but it wasn't enough individuality, in my opinion, during the times in which I was coming up. Now we have the individuality and less teamwork, so it's got to be a happy marriage. And when you look at the game, when I say in a sick state, it really is. It's the money is so great, and when the money is this enormous, I think it's very difficult to be motivated. Marvin Hagler said it best. He said, "Man, when I started sleeping in silk pajamas, it got harder and harder to get up and do road work." So you get it, man. When you start making that money, it becomes more and more difficult in order for you to focus on what is paying the bills. And I think, I don't know if you've seen me talk about this, but I've talked about it at nauseum about our responsibility. It's a price, a cost to pioneering anything. Mm-hmm. And once it's pioneered, we got people who did the heavy lifting, that had to work jobs, who got cursed out, who wasn't allowed to sleep in certain hotels, and they paved the way. Jordan made it global, and they had to conduct themselves in such a way that made sure the product was the product, and the product was able to earn money. We're in a position now where you're looking at a guy like a Ben Simmons who has made $84.5 million in a contract and only played 57 games. Now, I'm not going to dispute what he's going through. I don't want to be that guy, or I don't believe, whatever. It doesn't matter. That's guaranteed money, 84.5, and he's played 57 games. So it is what it is. And I think I hope, I really pray before I leave this planet that it gets back to a true love and appreciation for the sport and how many lives that has changed. This is generational wealth being created with one single contract, not a career, a single contract. Eric, you feel me? It's like that's generational wealth. All right.
And I feel like that. I agree with you, because recently I like the NBA and the NFL, but I watch the NFL more, even though I know the game of basketball very well. I watch the NFL more because I feel like it's a better product. And it's because of what you just said.
True.
Because I feel like when you give these young men these big contracts, and it's guaranteed money. They got 86 games. They're not going to play that hard every game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I think it's just human nature.
Yeah.
I think if you just give a person so much money before they even able to even do the work, just human nature. You're not going to put your foot on the gas 100% every game. And I feel like most of the games that I watch, it seems like that. Players take games off. You got guys taking. They're not playing. You might pay for a game and the best player's not even there. So I just feel like the money is just too great, and these guys are so young and it's guaranteed. So it's just. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, are they for the years of the players who did give their blood, sweat, and tears, who did try to comply with the NBA and did try to comply with the ownership? It's like they getting they 40 acres of the mule back from the NBA now. It's like, well, now we're gonna do what we want to do. So how do you feel about that dynamic?
Yeah, no, I talk about it all the time. It's like, be authentic. I'm a dude that I believe in being authentic, right? Why you ain't wearing, the neck tattoos and the sagging pants or the I don't know, the new fashion on draft night? You trying to get signed? You trying to present an image? You're trying to get that money. But then once you get it, it's like, man, why do we have to do media? Why do we have to do press? Why do we have to do it? Don't be a fraud, bro. You did it to get in, and you need to do it to maintain the product, right? And so that goes back to, and this is my belief. This is a very controversial take, but I always say that, there is a difference between mother's confidence and father's confidence that's instilled in a child. And, the way culture is, and again, I don't want to get too far off the subject, but the way culture is that women are protected. Women are protected in society. I think from very early on, women know how far they can go with certain situations. They know that, even being aggressive or getting in the face, people still know to stand down. You don't hit the young lady, you don't hit the girl, you don't push the girl, you don't push them in the sand. Even when you're little, if y'all were wrestling or tussling in the sand, just being kids, they're going to stand both of y'all up and they're going to turn to the boy. You never blah, 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 blah. And during that time, women see that. So okay, well, I can't really get in trouble about this stuff. So a lot of times when our young men are in single family homes or single, mother homes, sometimes that belief passes on to us that I can say what I want to do and you can't do anything to me. But the reality is, because I'm a man, things can be done, right? It's lines of respect with other men. It's authority. It's a lot of stuff that could derail you with that type of mentality. Fathers have a tendency, right, to instill confidence, but they always tell you to respect that other man or respect this. Don't take anything, right, that you feel is disrespect, but respect that man, because that man is a man just like you. And if you go there with him, you're going to have to go there with him, right? So it's a different level. And I think a lot of our young men are being raised in that way. So when they get to these places, it becomes more of a victim thing. It's like, why do I have to play every day? Other people in other careers don't have to work every day. They get time off, but they also don't make generational wealth in order to do so. So I think those arguments can be had. And, I don't know what the answer is. I think non-guaranteed contracts would be the answer, but that's something that, again, if you haven't owned anything, haven't owned a business, and this is not a black or white, I think we have a tendency to sometimes think white owners are rich owners and black guys and try to equate it to slavery. And I've actually gotten upset because our ancestors, that's just disrespectful.
I'm so glad you said that, because I got into debates. I got in a lot of arguments and debates with people for that, because they always compared football players or basketball players to slaves, and this is like, it's just one of the most ignorant comparisons of all time. Because first of all, these people were not paid generational wealth, and they were forced to do what they were doing. And you don't have to play basketball.
You don't. That's the one thing that people don't like talking about. You don't have to play.
You have a choice, and you're paid well beyond what it's really worth. You know what I mean? We all know, basketball, football, they're very fun. It's entertaining. but it's not worth that much. They're able to get paid that much because the teams generate that much money, so they can afford to pay them, and they put their body on the line. We make sense. But it's people that got way more meaningful positions. You know, you got teachers, you got doctors.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
They don't get paid nowhere near that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we're in rap with rappers. Because I'm a big hip hop fan. They'll say, you know, I ain't a rapper, I'm a hustler. It's like they don't want to hold on to the MCing aspect, the role model aspect.
The art,
yeah. You know, I don't rap. It's like these basketball players, like, well, you know, I ain't no baller. You know, I just play ball for. It's like nobody wants to take on the mantle of what they are. It's like, no, you a rapper. That's what you are. You an MC. You're not a hustler no more. You a rapper. You make music. You make albums, and it's okay. You're a basketball player. You got to do interviews. It's like they don't want to take on the whole mantle of what the position entails, and I feel like that's just something in society, period. But you guys said, so you kind of answered this question, but I just want to still go back over it. How do you feel? How does upbringing affect players' approach to the game, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's everything. So, like my dad, and look, let me tell you, I had a phenomenal dad. You know, I just got to the point, and I'm still not completely over, but my dad passed away at 90, and incredible life, man. Just was a good man, character excessively high. You know, I fall short when I compare myself to him, man, in terms of just a good dude. But I had to become more ruthless from my upbringing, not from my dad. My dad was like, let it go. No, you know, let God deal with that. You know, but my dad wasn't a punk. So it was always this conflict. My dad was tough. But I guess he always knew, it's like, man, bro, don't let people take you that kind of stuff. Because he had to learn to control his temper, and I inherited his temper. But I wish he had taught me to be more ruthless. Like, okay, ruthless within the rules, right? So what is ruthless within the rules, man? You know, we already know different games out there. It's basketball games, it's drug games, it's a rap game, it's the business game. And sometimes, you know, letting stuff go. Well, I can legally attack certain things. That's within the rules, but that's being ruthless, right? You're like, no, I'm going to handle this through different means. So with that being said, my dad, I wasn't as cutthroat, even though I was aggressive, even though I was, you know, I had a dominant personality. I had compassion too at the same time. And I wish I was more cutthroat. So even my dad bringing me up in a certain way to be honorable, to, you know, you win, you play it the right way. But, you know, people cheat to win. People hit you in your ribs when the referee's not looking. And I'm like, whoa, that's supposed to be a foul. No, but you got to learn to play within the rules and be ruthless within the rules. You follow what I'm saying? Even though people say that's not the rules, but it is. It's part of the game that's the unwritten rules.
Unwritten rules, yeah.
And you gotta play that. So upbringing. Now, again, what we just talked about with mothers and fathers, a single family or middle class or poverty. I've argued, and this is one, I mean, I debated this one back and forth. And I said, which one was harder, to become Steph Curry or to become AI? And so almost everybody says AI. He came from poverty. He was, man, he had to struggle. He had a single mom, this and that. And then I said, okay, well, let's look at this. All right. He did, right? But if you're from the hood, you know, once you identify that dude who gonna make it out, everybody breaking off. Man, hey, this little homie, don't mess with him. Hey, boy, come to me if you got any problems with anybody in this neighborhood. So it's almost like the whole community behind you, the whole community loves you, the whole community protects you, right? You're going to get everything you need. You are a top talent, so you're going to get to all the big camps, all the Nike camps. But then you got a kid over here who comes from affluence, right? Dad's a professional ball player, which gives him access, granted. But you 5'6" going into the 11th grade. Bro, let me tell you how people work, like the minds work right now. 5'6", going into the 11th grade, you have no offers. Most kids will start saying, man, you know, I got other opportunities. I can get my books. My dad, you know, got some money. Maybe I can get in broadcasting. I love being around the game. But something was in this dude that was like, nah, I'm going to play. He goes to his senior year, one offer. How many offers you think AI had in football and basketball?
He had a lot.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So you know, I know the jail stuff, so we ain't gonna, you know, forget that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had all of that. And then you look at Steph, and Steph comes in, man, and nobody thought he was gonna be who he was. No, his daddy didn't. His daddy literally was like, you know, maybe overseas, maybe, or whatever. I'm not really sure. Nobody thought he would become that, right? Since AI was 12, everybody thought he was going to become that. It was just don't mess it up.
Exactly.
Right? So those upbringings, those different upbringings, but, you know, they impact people different ways. So I think upbringing has a huge, you know, I've had wealthy kids who had the work ethic. I had wealthy kids who just, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. I don't really have to do it. So the motivation wasn't there, right? So I think upbringing has a huge effect on the way that players approach the game.
Cool. Next question. What is missing from the development aspect of the game today?
Playing. So when we grew up, we had one side of it, right? We had playing and then games, right?
Mm-hmm.
You picked it up, and this is why people's games were so beautiful, because everybody's game was different. Dr. J got, you know, Jordan has some similarities to Dr. J, but they don't play alike, right? Similarities, but they got some stuff, reverse layers or whatever, but it's a different flair. Isaiah didn't play like Nate Archibald. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Earl Monroe didn't play like Walt Frazier, right? You know, Rick Smits didn't play like Patrick Ewing. See, dude, everybody had their own game because they weren't watching everybody else play and just copying what they were doing. They had to figure out some stuff on their own. So they had their own shot. You got cats over their head shooting. You got cats pushing from the face. You got folks developing different stuff. Now, if you look at the game, really tell me the difference between Paul George, Bradley Beal, Kawhi, like who they all doing the same moves, same sidestep, same whatever. They pretty much play just alike. And that's training, right? And then we're missing playing, the in-between. That's the sauce. That's we had playing game. Playing gave us the creativity. Mm-hmm. Training gives you the structure, but you never practice it in between, and then you go to a game. So you really don't have an application for it many times. So that's when you start seeing cats who just, those that play end up being even in this era, being a little bit better than those that don't play. So we got to get to the point. I think we got to get back to player development, which is now an advantage. Getting back to the game, which is where you get to hone your craft, make mistakes. Nobody chewing you out for every possession because it ain't no clock. You get to throw it behind the back and it go out of bounds and you get to laugh. We don't have that anymore. And you're just trying to take training straight to the game. So that's what's missing in development right now.
Cool. I feel that. How has How has social media affected the ability to coach today?
No, it's helped it. And it's also allowed people who have zero experience, zero results to become experts just by understanding algorithms approach to hook points and getting people locked in. And you can become now, for the first time ever, you can become an expert before you actually train a kid. Right? And this is a huge, if you think about how powerful that is. So a lot of folks, and I know people personally who got major courses in real estate, major courses in Forex, major courses in Airbnb stuff. And guess how they made their money? Not through the Airbnbs, not through the Forex. They made it through selling the courses on how to be good at Airbnb and Forex. So it's no different in our field. It's cats who have become famous off of, right, just posting videos. And then, so I did the traditional way. I actually did all this in real time and kind of on the back end started understanding and picking up. I had a lot of help from players I formerly trained that really kind of taught me because it's a young man's game. This, social media is a young man's game. Because they understand this stuff. They were born with it. They were, it's just different. Us is still a little foreign, right? For me, still a little foreign. But I've been able to actually just bring to light some of the stuff that I've always been doing. And a beautiful thing too, it allows me to show video, because I do have a lot of old video that when people start talking about who came out with stuff first and who did this first, it's easy for me to pop in videos, be like, yo, bro, I've been doing this for 14, 15, 16, 17 years. So I think it's helped a lot. I think your reach now, I think the world has become smaller now with social media. I got access to kids throughout the world now that, I had to fly over to train them years ago. Now I can do it sitting here on a laptop or with a phone. So it's an amazing piece of technology, but it can be as beneficial. It can be just as deadly. I mean, in all areas of life.
How has it negatively affected your ability to coach?
Because and it really wasn't social media. It started with Sports Center. It's 30-second clips. So once you see a dunk and a 3-pointer, you can do a dunk and you can do a 3-pointer. You think you can hoop. So everything is distilled down to bite-sized chunks. People don't see whole games, right? They see the what gets me the attention. So I'm gonna do that. Not my game gets me the attention. No, my antics within the game gets me my attention. So that's how it's negatively impacted. And I think, to be honest with you, a lot of these cats, when they start making money on social media, I don't really think they even love hoop anymore like that. I think they reached their goals. I think, man, I got money, I got a following, I got YouTube hits. I'm making $300,000 a month on just residuals. Why would I get up and run sprints? Right? You got to really be motivated to do that. So
exactly. No, I agree with that. One thing I do wish that when I was younger that we had access to this, because it seems like with social media you can work on so many skills you can work on, you could just open your phone and just learn how to work on your left hand, learn certain drills. Before you really had to go to like either you played for a team or you had to go to like basketball camp.
No, when we grew up, it wasn't no bad, bro. Either your daddy could hoop or you got it in the streets, and if you ain't get it there, you ain't make the team. And it wasn't no transferring, it wasn't going nowhere. You just ain't making it.
It wasn't none of that. Why do you think I hear a lot of conversations about the new era and they try to discredit? It seems like this generation gets off on discrediting the previous generation. Why do you feel like older players are disrespected so much today?
Because number one, it goes back to how we're getting raised, right? We can't, when we were growing up, man, old head would be like, shut the F up, man. Shut your ass up and sit here and listen. That we can't even do that now. You can't tell somebody unless you got rapport. I got rapport with kids when we can talk and exchange like this. But for the most part, you don't talk to kids like this. And kids, their emotional stability is at play or whatever. And the suicide rate is higher than ever. So at the end of the day, I think it's a disconnect with how we can communicate with them from a everyday aspect, and that trickles into sport, right? And I think old heads are always saying it was just like old heads with us. We might have bucked some stuff, but we listened, we processed it. And we weren't just going at them. Number one, we weren't going at them because we were taught respect. You just didn't go at old heads, right? You just didn't do it. Now it don't matter. Ain't nobody got respect for anybody. You come into the league, like I said, that different level of confidence, male, female confidence, or whatever. You come into the league, I don't want to be anybody. I ain't trying to be Jordan. I'm gonna be me. I get that, but it's still a way you can pay homage to those that came before you, right? And appreciate what they do. So you're gonna get a lot of disrespect because everything sounds in this victim culture, everything sounds like disrespect. So I can't even say LeBron is a great player without saying he's the best player. If I don't say he's the best, then now
don't even go into there. We're gonna go there. We're gonna go to LeBron Jordan conversation.
That's a great example. The example is I can't even say, okay, LeBron is a phenomenal athlete. Boom. or Kawhi is a phenomenal athlete, right? But are y'all really saying like if I put Jordan in high definition, put the jerseys we have on today, you telling me you see somebody like him right now in the league? It's crazy. I hear people say the whole league can do what Jordan did, and I'm sitting here like, maybe I am delusional. All right, people love it. Oh, you delusional, man. That's dude. You see how weak this is, and I'm like, bro, who do you see in the league can do all of what MJ could do? Right. And people,
when they say he did the same, I think when they say, because I've said that before, I feel like Jordan was the first of his kind. I think after him, I think Jordan was like, I think some players are just from the future and they just come and they time travel. And
they call it anachronisms, man. They're out of the chronological place and time.
I think Jordan was that, and I think Deion Sanders was that. So I feel like those two, I think Jordan was a snapshot of what's to come. So now you got a league full of people with that athletic ability as far as, they can take you off the dribble, they can play on the perimeter, they can play two ways, they can, they got the up and down, they got all. But what made Jordan is that he won with this package. He wasn't just a part of his game. He dominated the game with that game. So a lot of people can do his shot. They can move like him. They can do a certain – they have the ability like him, but the ability to lead and win and be a champion and put it all together, we have not seen.
All right, let's go a step further. So all right. So can they really, right? So when we say this, can people do what he did? Yeah, I can do what he did, but I couldn't do what he did every night for 82 games for 13 years, being the hunted, where people were chasing you. You're the biggest game every single night of their life. So you have, everybody else has 82 regular season games. You have 82 playoff games before you even get to the playoffs because you are the draw. Everybody is A1 when they're going against you. Now imagine having every morning you get up, right? And it's like the Hunger Games. Somebody chasing to kill you. Somebody's coming to get you. And you still kill everything that comes to get you. That's a different level, right? And so even when we say the first of his kind, I mean, if we say it was only one Jesus, right? At some point, maybe it was just one guy that was so different and special that he's just the best we've ever seen, right? And then if you take some other stuff, man, I always laugh about this too. If I put LeBron back in 84, right? People, he'll kill the league, he'll dominate. Look at these bums. But if I put him back there, I also have to take away YouTube, specialized training, right? Equipment. I gotta back it. I gotta back him out. Now what is he? He Dr. J. Right. So it's I think we have this thing, right, that we don't understand that greatness is transcendent, and there's certain greatness that is beyond, like even beyond that, beyond transcendent. I think you drop Jordan off. Listen, the stuff, if you go look at a Jordan highlight, it still wows you. It wows you 40 years. It's nothing he did that you was like, this look old, man. This is like some old time. He was dropped off, like you said, in time, Tesla's time machine. He ended up getting here and he played a whole career.
I mean, look at the fact that people still wearing his shoes. They old, maybe because they was from the future. Everything he did was futuristic. Because we're in the future and it's still in high.
And for me, it's not delusion, because like I said, my dad was my idol. I don't, I ain't chasing no dude off the court. But on the court, I don't know of any ball player that was more perfect of a ball player. Like, he had every single aspect. And so you see cats like the Mike Peake doing the videos and, saying all this stuff about, the 80s was garbage, the 90s was garbage. But I think you can take any era, and I could put a clip every day of the 2020s, bro. and everybody be like, man, what is this? Right?
I think the only thing that's dramatically or overtly obvious as far as skill level of today than yesterday is ball handling.
Yeah.
I think that's the aspect that stands out the most is the array of moves, the jab steps, the in and out. It's just such a variety of dribbling.
But how did that advance? That advanced through and one. That didn't even advance through without and one. We don't get to this. So and one, the game would still be kind of where it is. Right.
That's a great point.
Right. So a hot sauce, my boy, man. The Spiders, all of those guys, man, sick with it, man. Alamo, they changed. So guys grew up. That's why Kobe had the hanging cross. But guess what MJ started doing by the end of his career? Hanging crosses, right?
He was doing it. I'll be watching a lot of clips. He was kind of doing it in like the early 90s.
Yeah, he did. He
would catch you. Like I would see it. It was more low hanging. It wasn't much more high, but it was way more effective. You know what I'm saying? It was Jordan. A lot of moves. I seen Reggie Miller open up on Jordan on a fast break, like a real like hanging cross. Like people been doing that. I think the game is simple. I think today, because of the dribbling, we feel like we have to do all those moves, but you don't only need a lot of dribbling moves in basketball.
So here it is, and this is the biggest thing. And I'm gonna ask you this question, bro. So I got a 70. I'm a 71 model. So you got a 71 Mercedes. Matter of fact, in my prime, I'm a Rolls Royce. So I'm a 71 Rolls Royce athlete, right? And then now you got a 2024 Rolls Royce, right? And I want you to think about it. All the different amenities. Now, mine was luxury at the time. The 2024 has everything, man. The Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi on board. It's got everything. But if I'm driving a Mobile, driving back home, and I'm driving 75 miles per hour back home, and you're driving 60 miles per hour back to Mobile in your 2024, who gets there first? I get there first. Now, also, if I know a quicker route and we're driving the same speed, I'm going to get there first. So what people keep losing with basketball, they lose that just because something isn't aesthetically pleasing doesn't mean that it's not functionally effective.
Exactly.
All I need to do is get to this spot and pull up, I score. It doesn't matter that I didn't do it in 20 dribbles, right?
And then look at Jokic. He's the MVP, two-time MVP. His game is not aesthetically pleasing at all.
But think about it. For those that like hoop, it's a beautiful game to me because I understand, like, damn, this he be killing with this Bird's game. I wish I had appreciated. This is what I'm saying about, especially being a young black man, I was attracted to Flash. I wish I had studied Bird. Bird, man, listen, and people hate me for saying this, and I'm going to go on record again. The best pure basketball player who's ever lived is Larry Bird. Take away athleticism, take away all the other stuff, hands down, from toughness to mental toughness to skill to dog to clutch to winning to leading to accountability. Man, bro, work ethic, but he had a 28-inch vert. Doesn't matter. He dominated. Just imagine, he dominated the league with a 28-inch vert. It tells you all you need to know about what he could have done with any level of what we call elite superior athleticism. But he was a great athlete. We judge athleticism strictly run and jump.
Exactly.
But I got Africans I used to train, and I love them. They could run, dunk, but they could only do it if they could catch the ball. They couldn't catch the ball. So that's part of athleticism too. Catching the ball, not traveling before you dunk. So balance, all of that stuff. So those are things that I think are overlooked, man. John Stockton, who has the best handle out of Stockton and Kyrie?
Let's go with Kyrie.
All right, but let's ask the question. Could John Stockton get anywhere on the floor anytime he wanted to get there and make the play he wanted to make?
It's hard to answer because it's like I've seen Kyrie get to places I haven't seen John Stockton attempt what Kyrie has attempted. So he may have the ability, but I haven't seen.
Maybe he don't need it.
Maybe, but I haven't seen it, so it's hard to say. But John Stockton was a bad boy. But Kyrie, if Kyrie was 6'6", bro,
yeah, but hold up. Here's the difference, though. If he was 6'6", he still wouldn't win.
I think he'd be a better defender. Well, I think he'd be a better defender based on the size.
No, he's an incredible defender now. If you watch, man, Kyrie is the one-on-one part of him. He may be the greatest one-on-one talent we've ever had in the league.
I think he up there with Jordan, man. I think Kyrie is like up there with Jordan. Man.
Well, let me ask you this though. So this is the other thing, and I try to get people to understand this. So John Stockton could get to a spot. Him getting to a spot and doing what he has to do has an effect on everybody else around him. So if Kyrie takes 15 dribbles to get, even I don't care how beautiful it is, he takes 15 dribbles to score. What's happening to everybody else each possession? Mm-hmm. So the difference in why Curry is so special is Curry's style of play allows for everybody to touch the ball and he still get off. Mm-hmm. Kyrie's style of play doesn't necessarily allow everybody to touch the ball and still get off. So now you got players who hadn't touched in 4 possessions, especially when you got the Brooklyn model, when you had Harden, KD, and Kyrie. Now your turn, my turn, 3 people. So 3 possessions. Then if they come back and Kyrie shoots again, or Harden shoots again, it might be 6, 7, 8 possessions before any of their role players ever get a feel for the ball. So if you're not touching every possession, now you're expecting that guy in the corner to hit a shot in the clutch when he hadn't touched it in 7 or 8 possessions. That's the difference in being stat sheet efficient versus being real-time efficient. Like in real time, I use the least to get the most. And that's why I think separates old school actually from new school players is that they got big, they got to the point.
That's a great point. What modern player today impresses you the most?
Modern player. Shai Gilgeous. I like Shai. I think he's special. It took me a while to really, funky shot. I'm one of those guys who shot don't look right. But he competes. He's tough. I really like him, man. I love Joker, right? Love Joker. I used to be really high on Giannis. I've kind of fallen off on Giannis because Giannis, to me, has hit a ceiling. He hasn't improved much.
Yeah, he's one-dimensional.
Yeah, he hasn't improved much. And I was one of the first. I don't know if you saw my post. I'm one of the first to ever say he was going to be I thought he could be the GOAT. I thought he had the physical attributes, the work ethic, the competitiveness. But like most people say, sometimes, man, it's detrimental to awaken the youth, right? To awaken the youth. The youthful ignorance has a power to it, right? And now that he became famous, it feels like he's starting to wilt under expectation, like pressure. Before then, there was no pressure, but you can play loose. And that's why, back to what I said, why Jordan is so great. To have the expectation and to never relinquish that once you got it, is something to behold. It's like it's unbelievable, man, in terms of character. Every day, you're already world famous. You're already the most popular athlete ever. You already did everything, accomplished everything. And then you wake up tomorrow and do it again. Very, very difficult. But those are my 2 right now.
Very. So this leads to my next question. You brought up Jordan. Has LeBron James surpassed Michael Jordan?
Statistically, of course, but I'm back to what's best. You say Kyrie got a better handle because he dribbles more, right? You know what I'm saying? He's aesthetically pleasing. The stats say LeBron, but LeBron has amassed all this over time. Jordan did more in less time. And even with the length of LeBron's career, he still hasn't done more than Mike in accomplishments, accolades, or whatever, outside of longevity. That's why I like stopping them in their prime. And people love to say LeBron is in his prime. But if you adjust for pace, and the rule changes about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when Harden jumped from 32 a game to 36 in one season. When Paul George jumped from 23 to 29, Paul George's best year was 23. He jumps to 29, but that was the 14-second reset on the shot clock, and then it was the adjusted pace. The game started to change. So without that, if you had LeBron playing in the NBA he started in, LeBron would be averaging about 17 points a game right now, 18 points a game. You would see the drop-off much greater than you do right now, because the drop-off has been, it's pretty, for those that watch it, understand it's been a drop-off. But because of the style of play, now that he's one of the bigger athletes on the floor, really not a lot of rim protectors, right? You got a few, but he's able to get a lot of buckets that he probably wouldn't have gotten in the early 2000s, mid 2000s when he first kind of got into the league. So statistically, yeah. Separation amongst peers, no. Accolades in a period of time, no. Skill set and game, no. Longevity, yeah. Stats, yeah.
So as far as you said separation from peers, why do you think he hasn't separated from his peers?
He doesn't have a great separation from his peers. We could argue that part of this era was Steph's era, as much as it was LeBron. Steph has been that dominant. And then we can fool ourselves because, again, marketing can tell you anything. You keep saying super team long enough, you'll believe that the dude that was 5'6" going into the 11th grade didn't know he was going to be a pro, never had a D1 offer. You can make yourself believe he's some superhero, or that Klay Thompson, who a souped up Kyle Korver, we can make it like he's some superhero, and we can definitely make Draymond look like a superhero. But that team right there, regular cats that played better as a team, that meshed better as a team, that had a system, not a player, a system. Now is some shit. Y'all act like that's
the greatest team. That's the greatest team of all time. I'm like, how they the greatest team of all time and they lost? They not the greatest team of all time.
Yeah.
And everybody tried to downplay the Jordan team, not to jump around, but it's like that Bulls team was a regular team, man. Like they was not loaded.
The first
Scotty was averaging what, 17? Scotty was averaging like 17. Rodman averaging like 4 points a game. It's like Jordan never played with elite offensive talent.
Yeah.
And he
and listen, the league. And hear me out when I say this, man. That's just the second. Everybody always talk about the second three-peat. The first three-peat, bro. None of us during the era. See, the problem is with young heads. People go to YouTube and try to figure it out. Mm-hmm. I lived in the time. I know the conversations being had. Nobody thought the Bulls were going to win with that team. We had to wait to see them beat LA. We had to wait to see. We weren't sure they were going to beat Portland. We weren't sure they were going to beat Phoenix. And people can still say, oh, man, they were favored. Doesn't matter. I'm telling you what the spirit is. It's like boxing. I don't care what the odds say. We have a feeling like, bro, I don't know if Javante or whatever can knock out this guy. We have that belief. You know what I'm saying? We're not so sure. I can't say, man, that any of those teams, like you said, were really. That second one with Kukoc and all that was a special team. That was a special team. And that's a team that even Steve Kerr said himself, if they pushed them in this era, that team would be special in this era. Even with the three-point shooting, they had the length to defend because everything is switching, right? Imagine switching on them and you got Kukoc out top with a guard. He could guard, right? Ron Harper could guard. Jordan could guard. Pippen could guard. Rodman could guard. That's a defensive juggernaut. And now you have an open up game. And you like I said, greatness is transcendent. They would have worked on the actual three-point shooter. They were good shooters. They just weren't three-point shooters because the game wasn't played like that at the time.
Exactly. Has social media, you think, made today's players more vulnerable? Because, like women could hit them up randomly. They get all these offers, How do you feel like that's affecting the modern players and their finances?
I think not used to anything always affects your mentality. I think the accessibility obviously does, but I think just most athletes, and people don't like talk about this, but most athletes are kind of geeks, man. A lot of them weren't always popular. Jordan wasn't popular. Jordan told me he took home economics because he didn't think he'd ever get a date. So that's why he had to learn to cook for himself. And that's been well documented. But shoot, when Jordan started dunking and throwing the ball in the hole every 5 seconds, he ain't had that problem anymore, right? Exactly. But imagine you haven't been used to something, and traditionally you got to meet that temptation in person. Now you get to scroll temptation all day. So yeah, it has increased the accessibility, right? But I think it still stems to like what you talked about earlier, like upbringing and understanding what this is, and not understanding how the matrix works, still being in Zion, but being able to operate in the matrix, right? And understanding the rules that none of this is real. That love you getting ain't really real love. It's conditional love, right? And once they can understand that, I think they're gonna get it, and none of it is gonna be able to entice you because you understand what's real and what's not real.
Exactly. What changes in relationships have you noticed, and how do you think it's affecting men today?
I just think we're at this all-out war right now. I think it's a line in the sand between men and women. I think, unfortunately, the messaging that, and I'll say this on both sides get bad messaging. We get bad messaging sometimes through hip hop, rap music, whatever. Women have some really bad messaging via mainstream media. So if you think about it, I don't know if you've ever watched a movie, because you probably was teeing us up like that during that time. But Waiting to Exhale, right? It's a pop culture.
I was 11 when that came out.
All right. So I was a grown man when it came out. So in the movie, it's about 7 different depictions of black men in that movie. Of all the men, only one was a positive. Everyone else, Angela Bassett's husband, who left her for the white woman, he was vilified. Leela Rashawn had Wendell Pierce, who was the corporate guy who she slept with. He wasn't good in bed, but then he came to the boardroom and then he critiqued her on her thing, and she was talking to her mind, you'll never get anything embarrassing me up in there, right? The next one was Leon, good in bed, bad dude, women everywhere, no good, right? Who she gets pregnant with at the end, right? Mm-hmm. Then she had the guy throwing tomatoes at her on the roof, who was a drug head. Then we got Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was dating a married man. And at the end of the movie, she looked at him and said, what I see with you is that you're the scum of the earth. But you've been dating this married man the whole time. Now he's the scum of the earth. Then we move to I can't think of her name, dark-skinned chick. Gregory Hines was her kind of love interest in the movie. She had a son. The son's dad was gay in the movie, right? And Gregory Hines had just moved back next door. His wife had passed away, right, from cancer. And she kept saying stuff like, I know you probably wouldn't, I got to get this weight off of me, and da-da-da. She was like being insecure. And he said, I like a woman with meat on her bones. And with that, he became the hero of the movie. And that was the only male in the entire movie.
Interesting.
That was even looked at positively. And it was so entertaining. And a lot of times we don't think that these movies have adverse effects on how we see things, right? These women participated in everything. Where was the accountability, right? And not to overuse that word, but even in the movie, where was the accountability? It was everyone was a victim. Even though Whitney was dating a married man, right? Even though, Leela Rashawn was dealing with somebody who wasn't a good guy, and she knew it was no good. Exactly. So where's the accountability? And I do think those are the changes in relationships I've seen. I think it's just an all-out war. And I think if we could get to the table, and it's very hard to have these in open forums because the problem with social media is a extension of the psychological effect called a mob rule. So because you can you can almost be anonymous, even though you see me. I'm anonymous. I can be right. I'm not going to back down. I can be whatever I want to be because I can say what I want right now. You still got to go fact check it, right? You can just be, you can be whoever you want to be, right? You get to say what you want on the keyboard. You can get to disrespect whoever you want to disrespect. And I think a lot of times the conversations aren't even really being had. Exactly. Nobody's really having a conversation.
Exactly. I agree. I think that it's more of a war of narratives than people's actual experience. I think a lot of people are speaking from what they've seen in the post, what they've seen somebody else suggest, and it's a little bit of truth, but it's like Kevin Samuels, for example. Kevin Samuels said a lot of things I agree with, but some of the stuff he said, it's like it's a feel to it. It's like in the game. It's like certain shots are set shots, and certain shots have a feel, certain touch to it. You know what I mean? So I feel like certain aspects of dealing with women, it's not as black and white as some guys would try to make seem.
Yeah.
Like this kind of woman is like that, and that kind of woman is like, it's like that's not really how it is. You know, it's not like sometimes you might meet a good woman and she might have a child, she might have 2 children. You know, that doesn't mean y'all can't have something. Now, is it advantageous to want to start a family and a wife with children, a woman with children? Maybe not, because you want your own, but it's not that black and white that if she has a child, she has no value. It's like these narratives came and it's like, do you guys really deal with women in real life, or are you just listening to narratives on the internet?
And that's it, man. And one of the biggest things, I think one of the ones that really has been sold, especially to women, is living my best life. And this is all of us, my best life, my happiness, my peace. And so now 2 people are going into a relationship saying, my happiness is the most important. Well, how are you going to ever win in that when your happiness and my happiness is the most important thing to us? My happiness, right? Once we come together, it's like, can you imagine being in a business with somebody that's like, man, my money matters more than your money? Like, and you like, my money matter more than anything. No, our company's money, we don't have money if we don't join together and build this, right? So the way I think is different. I've always had a communal spirit. I'm always thinking about the ecosystem, how we build this, right? Everything requires cooperation, right? Coordination, right? So we keep worrying about, in my estimation, we always worry about stuff that really, and this is where I agree with Kevin Samuels, don't move the meter forward. My happiness does what for my legacy, so to speak, right? And I know that sounds, so yeah, I want to be happy. We want to have a happy existence. But what really is happiness, right? Is happiness a feeling, or is it a state of accomplishing, building, raising, right? Is it something more than just the feeling in the moment? And I think most people are chasing, really like any other addiction, you're chasing a high. Happiness is a high that you keep chasing. And you're never going to get that one again. You're going to keep chasing it. And it takes more and more to be happy, and more because you don't appreciate what life really is about, in my opinion. So I think that's part of the main issue.
I agree with that. I agree. And I think social media also played a big role, because it's always an example of somebody who's where you're at, where you want to be. And it feels like it's that close because you click on it with the screen. So you don't want to go through the process. You feel like it's just so accessible because it's just constantly thrown in your face. So it takes a lot of discipline to really push past that today. Yeah. Got another question for you. What approach would you suggest? Because, I'm in this relationship space. I talk about a lot of relationships, but I like to have these type of conversations as well. I don't want to just be online, trying to catch a woman, saying so. You know what I mean? A lot of people want to see that, but I feel like I'd rather have a diverse conversation with different people about life, so we can hear how other people think. Because a lot of women, they think that it's only a certain kind of guy that views things a certain way. They think a man that's only making $50,000 has an issue with some of the things that women say. They feel like men who have it all together don't have no problems. It's like, well, I talk to a lot of men from different walks of life, and they kind of all having the same type of issues,
Absolutely.
regardless of their income,
Yeah.
regardless of their lifestyle. Like this is not just a blue collar issue. So, with that being said, what approach would you suggest today? Sole provider or shared financial responsibility?
It's the same thing if you ask me, like, should I change this guy's shot? Well, it depends. Just like if you ask me how many shots should I take a day? Shit, I don't know. It depends. So what expertise really is in certain fields is understanding that everything doesn't fit everybody. So sole provider might work depending on what we're doing in that season. So for me, it's problematic because I'm in a field that doesn't have a unlimited life, right? It's a shelf life to what I do, right? Physically, it's a shelf life, right? I've had 11 surgeries already. This is a lot to deal with on the body, the time away from family, building other people's kids sometimes when you're not building your own, right? So it's a lot that goes into it. So if I'm with a mate and you understand that I got the work ethic, I bust my ass, and I'm saying, like, look, yeah, I've provided, but now, baby, I got something else I want to transition into. And I'm telling you, I'm going to make it work. But for this next 2 years, I'm going to need you. I got to focus all of my energy. Now, what happens is, if you ever notice, man, divorces, have you ever seen anybody get divorced at the top of the mountain or in the valley? Right? People don't ever get divorced at the top of the mountain. So the problem is we don't even understand the ebbs and flows of relationships. So am I a half-ass dude because I provided for 15, 20 years and now I got to transition and I need you just to hold me down, baby, for just a year? If you could just get me to this, I got this stuff, I got to get it off, blah, blah, blah. I got to transition for my sanity, for my life, for my health, right? And can you imagine somebody telling you, man, I mean, I ain't signed up for having to take care of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we in it together or are we not in it together? Those are the things that we have to ask those questions. So you gotta, those, it just depends. Like, I think, when you're a sole provider, I think sometimes you're gonna get treated like a sole provider. Like, if something happens to you and you can no longer provide, guess what? You just, that's your value. But I always, even when I was young, I used to always say, like, okay, you got a guy who's driving a Mercedes, you got a guy driving a Toyota. The guy with the Mercedes is a trust fund, baby. Somebody gave it to him, has no work ethics, gonna always be taken care of, gonna have some little money, but no drive, no value. And, you got this guy with the Corolla who is working out of his garage trying to get this little book online thing off the ground. Like, I want to sell books online, da da da. And lo and behold, the books online guy is Jeff Bezos. But you were chasing a trust fund baby and you missed out on a guy who had vision. You saw what he had and didn't see what was in him. And so I think that's what we miss a lot of times. And I'm not talking about somebody who just is smart, articulate, and educated. I'm talking about somebody who's working. You see they have a work ethic. You see they got to get up. They just need a little bit more direction, or they need a little help, or, man, boom. Like, those are the stories I love. The Tabitha Brown chick, have you ever heard her story, man, how her husband held her down when she got hit and got off and cookbooks sold and recipe? Man, she went and retired this brother. No, you ain't never got to work again. You held me down. That type of love is what I remember seeing growing up, right? Now, again, we're going to get into it because this is another entire episode, right? On, oh, man, but your daddy had a family across town and they were beating on your mom. And all of that stuff wasn't every situation. That was some of the situations. Some situations people really was like, and you see it. Like I had couples who, man, so in love with each other, man. They were married 50 years and died within a week of each other just because that's how close they were. You know what I'm saying? That type of love. And I don't know in our lifetime will it ever get back? Not in our lifetime. I think it'll be a reset at some point. But I think right now, where we are is 40 years in the making. So we're 40 years away from resetting it.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad you said 40 years away. Because I had posted something today on my page. And sometimes I post stuff not necessarily that I agree or disagree, but just to get a gauge of how people think. Because people don't, I noticed one thing, people, and growing up, we all say, I feel you. But I don't think another thing I said, that's our problem. We don't listen to people, we feel them. I don't need you to feel me. I need you to hear me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people feel, they don't listen to what you say, they feel it. And if they like how it feels, they go with it. If they don't like how it feels, they don't. But you can be saying something real. So I posted on my page something about reparation. A brother had made a point about poor whites at the time, how they participated. So a lot of people jumped on the page and started talking about racism in other countries and slavery in other countries. And it's like talking about Democrats and stuff. It's like that has nothing to do with people who was actually slaves, and that slavery event matriculated into unfair banking practices, segregation, sundown towns, redlining, real estate issues, them burning down independent Black communities. It's like it wasn't just slavery. It was a lingering effect that politically, economically, and socially, mentally, and spiritually displaced the people. So and somebody a guy had said, well, the people today, they act so crazy, they don't deserve it. I said, well, the present, if you give somebody an illness, and when that illness completely takes over the host, does that mean that person is disqualified because they actually fell for the illness? It's like what you see today is a product of what happened to people. Like all that happened to people for a reason, to create a certain result. It didn't happen. It happened so people could be dysfunctional. It happened so people could not understand what feminism, or what a female is, what a male is. It happened because so we could have dysfunctional relationships. It happened so we could judge each other for material and surface things. Like this is the effect of all of that stuff. And so now you can throw it all away. It's like people are crazy, man.
No, I did a post. I did a post about this a while ago. So, all right, my background, like I'm a historian, bro. Like my mom is an educator, my sister's an educator, my brother's an educator. So I'm the only one in the family. And to be honest, I'm an educator in a different way, but I have the DNA of teaching, right? I come from teachers, right? And so I really educated a lot of people on my book page before I realized, you know what, I'm tired of the controversy, people getting upset because I make a statement and not really understanding where I was going. But anyway, I posted about reparations, exactly how much money was owed, what Martin Luther King Jr. was doing when he was doing the poverty initiative. He was going to march on Washington, and he was actually going to ask for the $800 million at the time. Now that has swollen to anywhere between 4.5 trillion and 52 trillion based on the original 400,000 acres and a mule. So it was only 400,000 acres allotted. But what he calculated, because the 400,000 acres depends on where that acreage would be situated, the cost and value of that acreage, things of that nature. The mule is about $8,000 in today's $10,000. So when you take a look at that, but the thing was the back pay for the free labor that actually made the U.S. the superpower off of cotton. So we became the superpower. So reparations, and what I broke down, so basically roughly it would be anywhere from 147,000 to like 1.47 million to every single Black individual in America. That's it. Now, we could trace it back because it was I think 1 million freed slaves. I don't know if it was 1 million or 4 million. I can't remember. But 1 million freed slaves. People are talking about those descendants. But even if we just gave it to the 40 million Black Americans, it still would roughly come out to that, right? The problem with the way people think is that reparations have been given. The Civil Liberties Act that was signed by Ronald Reagan in 1988 gave Japanese internment survivors $40,000 a piece in today's money, which helped build Japanese American wealth because they used that money to further educate and things of that nature. But that was every member of the household. The claims conference has already given over $60 billion to Holocaust survivors. And each year they expand the requirements that extend. They've returned artifacts and stolen pieces of art to rightful owners, right? This is reparations, yearly reparations given to Jewish folks. So at the end of the day, it can be done. It definitely can be done, man. And it's all paper money anyway. So I don't want to get into it, but it's all paper money anyway. So it can be written just like, Congress signs a bill and generates X amount of dollars to go to war, right? NASA, we spend so much time in space exploration. That money could be going towards this. Is it feasible? Absolutely, it can be done. Now, I do believe reparations with instructions. This ain't lottery giveaways. We ain't giving away money and Walmart stock go out the roof, because I almost said it. Negroes got 500 TVs walking out. It needs to have some achievement-based incentives. Like, it has to be a detailed business plan with a feasibility study for you to get X amount of dollars. Purchase of a new home, right? It has to be, the start of a new business, right? All of these things that we can set some parameters so that money isn't just, plus financial literacy, how to manage this money, not just stick it in a bank, but I'm talking about using IULs, index universal life insurance policies to protect assets. All of that stuff is important to understand before you receive money, because all you're going to get is the lottery syndrome if you give it to them. It's
funny that you said IULs, because I'm partnered. I also sell life insurance. I know a lot of people, that's something I do on the side. And I recently just got into it. And I'm going to do a show talking about IULs and talking about exactly what you're talking about, because a lot of people don't even understand how powerful.
I got the one of the best in the world at writing IULs, and I'm not kidding. Rich Thompson, he's got videos on YouTube.
Is he with PHP?
No. He has his own. We call it legacy banking, right? And some people call it infinite banking or whatever, because it's the same concept.
Yeah, we're doing that too. Yep.
But
I'm glad Mike talk about that.
He is one, and I'm not joking. He is one of the best in the world. Now, if you want him on the show, we can get him on the show. He's one of the best in the world. I'm not talking about no over the counter. Read a little bit about IULs. I'm talking about written millions of dollars in policies and understands exactly how they work and how they should be leveraged. But the problem is, we are distrusting of non-normalized banking instruments. A normal banking instrument is a banking account. Man, that's the worst thing you can do. That's just for exchange of money in your daily activities. But in terms of stashing money, putting it up, protecting it, tax sheltering, yeah, we got to understand how the Rockefellers really built their wealth, and they built it through long-term life insurance policies. That's how the Rockefellers, just like every major family. And if you structure it right, you do get a chance to create, infinite wealth for your family if you understand. And it's time for us, it's our generation. We gotta be the one, the change agent in our generation or our lineage to change the financial situation inside of our lineage. So it's time for us to do that.
That's exactly why I'm going to bring that conversation to my platform, because a lot of issues in this relationship game is, we like to say, finances, lack of money, lack of resources, and a lot of unfair conversations happen in this space where I hear a lot of men and a lot of women always talking about what brothers and sisters should have and shouldn't have, and it's as if they just forgot about how we got here. And the average man, regardless of race, doesn't make a lot of money. And it's like when I'm in these spaces, even from the men, they're acting like everybody's making 90, 100,000. If you're not, there's something wrong with you. If 78% of Americans are living check to check, and that means the people who are making six figures are not the norm. So you can't make an assessment based on a minority. You have to make an assessment based on what happens most of the time. And these people get in these spaces and they talk about these small clusters of people and try to shame the rest of the people when we compare them to people who got stuff like reparations, who got IEL set up, who's inherited wealth. When they took wealth from our grandparents, these people making money these ways to be able to hand it down to these people today. So I think it's just not a fair argument. But that's why I want to start talking about things like that, so people can say, hey, we're not just talking about men and women, but actually bringing solutions, and we're going to make it feasible for you to participate in the solution as well. It's not just you watching me talking about it, but I'm also going to offer people an opportunity to join in on the process. So that's probably going to be my next show. So it's funny that you actually brought that up. But I got a few more questions for you, brother. Before I let you go, I really enjoyed the conversation. Like, you have so much information, bro. I want to have you on a panel next time, because I want you in an environment with different people, with different aspects. Like, I like to have panels with people that's not necessarily panelists, because to me it's more authentic. So I feel like you'll be a great addition to the conversation. But it's another question I have for you. What aspects of men do you feel like modern women undervalue? I can't hear you. I think your mic is muted.
All right.
But there we go. There we go.
All right, good. So yeah, I've been trying to talk for a while then. Hey, so no, it's the same thing I just said in terms of drive, ambition, work ethic. I think it's undervalued because, unfortunately, and this is, I think, the disconnect with many modern women. And I hate to use these terms because it doesn't describe every woman, and it starts to cluster them. But in reality, women are waiting at the finish line. And so what happens, and I always say this, and this is, and again, I'm gonna just talk frank, man. Hopefully I can talk like this.
This is what we want. This is what we want.
So in real talk, so folks will be on reality shows talking about, my marriage is ugly joke, and he had the nerve to cheat on me. You know why he cheated on you? Because he know he ugly. And he know you wouldn't be with him if he didn't have the loot. So it doesn't make a difference whether I cheat on you or not. I know you really here for something else. No, but I really loved him and I gave him. No, you weren't. You wouldn't have looked at him, right? If he didn't have loot. So people are waiting at the finish line. But guys always remember, this is just how we're wired. We remember who was with us when we were striving, when we were struggling, who believed in what we were doing, right? And it's different phases of that. So like I said, you can have multiple careers. When you start really looking at the success path of many people, you'll start to see how many times cats were on top, lost it all, got it back, lost it all. You talking about Steve Jobs got fired from Apple, his own company, right? That he created. They voted him out. He went to Pixar, did some stuff, came back, and then took him into the future. But at the end of the day, it's going to be ebbs and flows, especially with entrepreneurial spirits, and also in seasons, right? Like I said, physicality, it's a shelf life to what I do. I got to make a transition at some point. Do you catch me in a transition and say, oh, you should be further ahead by now? Or do you realize, like, damn, boy, you was one of the best ever in this field, but you're going into something else. And that takes time, right? You got to realize successful businesses. And I said, I don't care how, and I want you to hear this. 1 out of 10 businesses fail, regardless of the history of the person who started it. So they could have had 30 other businesses, and it still has a 90% chance of failing. So I think what aspects, again, they devalue is the work ethic, the wherewithal, the commitment and loyalty to family. They undervalue those because everything has a sticker price, right? Love has a sticker price. Loyalty has a sticker price, and you can pay for it, but you have to continue to pay for it. And if you don't continue to pay for it, the loyalty goes with the money. So I think that's an aspect that is undervalued. So you know that women don't necessarily see, in my opinion.
Got you. What's something do you wish women would be more honest about?
How easily persuaded and manipulated they can be by marketing, by things planted. So you made a statement about feel, right? And you got, it's a tough statement because you say you feel me, I feel you, but did you hear me? Well, even if I hear you and I listen to you, I'm listening with my trauma, not with my ears.
That's true.
So I hear you say this, that's not what your intent is, but I heard this based on my experience and trauma. That's why I think true objectivity is almost impossible, because you can't extract the subjectivity from what you are evaluating unless you've done a lot of work. And this is the other thing that we got to be honest about. Goddamn, 2 therapy sessions ain't making you healed. You ain't healed. You ain't healed at all.
And a lot of these therapists, man, today, they're extremely compromised because it's like they have incorporated the female trauma into the fabric of how they evaluate all things. So even when you speak, like if you're in couples therapy, I've been in couples therapy before, they're kind of like almost sometimes siding with the woman just from the rip. So it's like everything about it is geared towards a feminine perspective on things. So it's like therapy doesn't always, it just depends on how open-minded they are for that to even be a successful situation. So it's really tough for men today.
Yeah, it is, man. And at the end of the day, that's why I tell my boys, and this sounds so wrong, but I keep telling you, nobody cares. This is a life based on performance. Basketball is performance. Life is performance. It's not a single aspect that you are not judged by performance. This is a performance-based life. And if you don't produce, the world cares nothing about your feelings, who you are, what you got to take care of. They don't care. So what I have to, they keep saying men's feelings, we got to care more about black men. The only time black men are really loved is when they're laying dead in the street. Then we'll march for them. Then we'll love on them. Then we respect you, black man. But while we're alive, we're not being respected. And we got this, we always take what we want, but based on our trauma, we take what we want to hear. We hear Malcolm X say the black woman is the most disrespected woman on the planet. And his statement was more of a political statement. It talked about that's why you need to be closer to your man. But it's been taken out of so much context, right? That we're the most disrespect. It's just we had the same group perpetuated the acts on both of us. And now we're in the victim Olympics all of a sudden, like, well, they hurt us more than they hurt you. And black women got hurt more in slavery than black men. No. That was the design. We believe our trauma was greater than your trauma. But the trauma was perpetuated by the same group.
That conversation of my trauma versus your trauma is a product of trauma.
You
know what I'm saying? That conversation alone is a product that shows you that something wrong with you. If you really think that both of y'all, you got one more lash more than my back got. Like we both in here bleeding, eating hog maws and sleeping in our house. Like what are you talking about?
Yeah, but no, because that's the victim mentality, and I think that's where society is right now. We're entrenched with I call it the discrimination Olympics or the victim Olympics. And what I try to tell my boys is just the world does not care, right? Man. You can express your feelings if you want to as a man, and I'm telling you, it ain't no good look. So I'm telling all men out there, and people can get upset with this, man, go talk to the door, a pillow outside. Don't share your feelings to the world, right? Because you're gonna get demonized by sharing your feelings. You're gonna get your position gonna be weakened, and many times it's gonna be used against you. So you need to just hold that straight face, man. Handle your business and do what we do, man. We're not designed to be appreciated. We're designed to be horses and to carry loads, provide, and not to be appreciated. So we have to understand that and accept that in society. And I don't want to hear anybody saying, "Oh no, D, we love you. You that's the wrong way to think." No, it's the truth. And this is something I wish women would be more honest about. Also, it's an absolute fact, in my opinion.
With that being said, are we ever truly loved?
No, everything is conditional. There is no. We can get into the. Listen,
are men love conditionally? Are both parties love conditionally, or are women love unconditionally and men love conditionally?
I think society loves women unconditionally. I think it's designed. That's the design. I think we are loved based on conditions, and I hate that. When I say hate, I do. I hate that people like Chris Rock have made a statement in a comedy special, so everybody thinks you're getting that off of that. When he says, only dogs and something are loved unconditionally. The truth, he was just making an astute observation of what we all know as a fact. We have zero value. When you go under the bridge, unless it's some serious psychological issues, you're going to find way more men than women. Right? Almost every woman going to have somebody that's going to take in, going to help her, going to clean up, going to do something. We don't have that luxury all the time. Because guess what people are going to say? Man, you need to get up off your ass and do it. Right? You need a man while you're a grown man. Right? That's that we don't have that. We don't have that love, man. It's absolutely 100% conditional.
Facts. So before I let you go, this is my last question for you. I had to take it back to the ball court. Give me your top 10 players all time.
All right, so I'll start down. I'll say Jordan, Bird, Magic, impact on the game, Steph, LeBron would be in there somewhere in the top 10. Wilt, right? How many is that? 4 or 5? Shit.
You got Jordan, you got Magic. No, you got Jordan, Bird, Magic, Curry, LeBron, Wilt. That's 6.
6. Oh man. Let me see. I think you should throw him in because he had the stats too, and he impacted the beauty of the game. I say Dr. J has to be top 10. They don't put him in there, but you got to with impact and influence on the game. Now I'm not talking about skill, whatever, but he changed the swag and style.
He deserves it. I give. I mean, and he's a champion.
And he's a champion too.
Yeah.
I think Akeem, which would be 8.
2 more.
Man, I think maybe even pure basketball player, not even accomplishments. I would say KD.
I mean, he got some chips.
And I'll say Joker.
Wow, no Kobe?
See, I gotta think about that. See, that's what if I moved anybody, it would be probably LeBron for Kobe. But the reason I'll ever put Kobe and posthumously we always, everybody grows more in passing and death. However, I do believe in order to get in there, he would have had to have surpassed MJ, right? Because he was MJ. He was a closest thing to MJ. And I know people use that as, well, if he was the closest thing to MJ, he needs to be in the top 10. And it's hard if you didn't do more than, if you're the 2.0 and you didn't do more than the 1.0.
Well, he did, but he got 5 though.
Got 5, but we could argue that Shaq was the catalyst on the first. We could argue that
he was. But this because I used to be a Kobe hater, and it wasn't after he died that I started. It's like the last 2 years of his career, and I started.
I like Kobe now.
I fell in love with him. I fell in love with Kobe towards the end of his career. I was a big Iverson fan, but Kobe had 3. I'm just looking at the trajectory of what Kobe could have did. We all know he only got 5, but just look at what he could have did. They took about at least 1 or 2 MVPs from him. He should at least have 2. He got 3 with Shaq. They would have had 4. They should have had 4 when they played the Pistons. So that would have been 4 rings right there. He would have had 4 at 25. Yep. Then he went to 3 more. He won without Shaq. He won 2. He beat the Celtics and he beat the Magic. Kobe could have had 7. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
potentially, but that's what separates him from MJ.
But that's why I feel like he at least got to be top 10 because LeBron only got 4, Curry only got 4, Durant only got 2.
Yeah, we talking about chips, but chips got so many other factors. I don't even use. Have you ever noticed? I don't even use that with my Jordan argument. Jordan just the best basketball player I've ever seen. I don't use 6 championships, and Jordan didn't have to win any. Let me help you with this. I thought LeBron was on the path. I was.
Oh yeah, me too.
I was on LeBron. I used to love LeBron early, but something happened around 2011, like when he made that change, and he went to the Heat, and something. He changed. He wasn't afraid early, and then all of a sudden it seems like he was more calculated. You know, his accountability. He didn't put it on his shoulder. He didn't. You know, it's a lot of front running and a lot of stuff like that. That's my only thing with LeBron. But I thought LeBron.
I think got a little arrogant.
Yeah, and I think LeBron. I thought LeBron was on that path. So LeBron didn't even have to win a chip for me to say that's the greatest player I've ever seen play. Period. But everybody is so connected to the chips. I'm not a chip guy. That doesn't mean anything to me. It helps. It actually adds something to it because to win tells a little bit something about sometimes how you elevate people, right? You know what I'm saying? It could say a little bit, but it's still so many other factors. And I think we hold championships got a lot more stuff to it, man. A lot of luck, health. Some people who should have won chips, they were hurt that year, and that was their only real opportunity they were going to ever win it. It never happened. Stuff like that, so many other factors. But pure basketball players, you know, if that's the case, I would probably say, you know, Kobe as a pure basketball player, he just wasn't super efficient to me.
He wasn't. I didn't like that either. But I felt like I think that I think chips matter in this degree when you're the best player. And you take your team when you're the best player in the league, and then you lead your team to a chip. I think it has more effect when you're the best guy. I think if you just arrive before then the chip don't matter. But when you're like at the top of the league and you win a chip, to me that's like it just cements your greatness. But like you said, a lot of things happen where that's outside of people's control. Because I was a Melo fan coming to the league. I thought he was gonna. For some reason, I was sleeping on LeBron. I just wasn't convinced on the jump from high school, but. He was as advertised.
Carmelo was there. I think Carmelo, the sensitivity to media. I think the bust of the weed early on took the NBA took him off of the list. That's why I say also there's so many other factors that go into this. How the league promotes certain players, and there's certain players we've talked about it, and people don't like talking about it because it's a controversial topic, but. What's the difference between Bol and Wembanyama? Now they say Bol doesn't have the work ethic, but from a skill standpoint, he's more fluid than Wemby. I think he has more natural talent than Wemby. But I also think he doesn't have the appearance that the NBA feels is marketable. But I feel like you could make a play on that if you're smart and strategic in marketing. The way that Kawhi has leveraged being quiet in marketing. Bol could run a whole campaign about being ugly. I'm going to be a fashion model. And everybody laughing because it's like, this dude really think he's going to be a fashion model. And he walking on the runway and he taking photos and he's making a joke himself. And you could market that. But I don't think the NBA is so lazy. They won't cut and dry easy marketing where they could take that kid and put him in the right situation. Right? Or he could get in the right situation. And I think he's talented. Now, I don't know work ethic. I can't speak on that. But from a talent standpoint, he definitely is that talented.
Exactly. Yeah, Bol is nice. Bol got the handle. He got a lot. But Yeah, brother, I appreciate you pulling up on me tonight, man. It was a good conversation. I got some clips I'm definitely going to chop up with you dropping some gems. Is there any last words you want to present with us? Any advice you want to give the young men before you drop off the channel?
Man, just keep plugging, man. You know, life is short, life is long. Same time. That's the oxymoronic nature of life. It's all things at the same time. You are all things at the same time. You're young, you're old, you're smart, you're dumb, you're big, you're small, right? You're one of my favorite slangs is that we're all significantly insignificant. And we're also insignificantly significant. We are all things at the same time. And I think once we start to understand that, it helps us in terms of how we operate in this space. Yeah, I might be smarter than you, but I'm dumber than someone else. Yeah, I'm bigger than you, but I'm smaller than someone else. Everything is based on relativism. So that would be my thing to them. It's just, you know, understanding that, right? You are all things at the same time, right? And being able to operate out of that space, if that makes sense. So
I'm definitely clipping that up. That was a classic line right there. That was a perfect jewel. I appreciate you, Dorian. We will be in touch, brother. I will have you back on the channel real soon, man. Thank you for your time, bro.
I appreciate you, brother.
Real peace and love, bro. All right, y'all. It's another episode of Philosophical Radio. Thank you for spending time with us tonight. We had a great conversation with a good brother. We dropped some good jewels on us. And we'll definitely be back soon. My next show will definitely be more business driven. I got some solutions, some great people I want to introduce my audience to. Some great opportunities, to, you know, put some money in your pocket to establish some generational wealth. And some people that can give you some good information on how to get involved in things like that. IULs, infinite banking, have some real exciting people I'm going to collaborate in the near future to give people some solutions, not just talk about it, but actually offer them in real time. So thank you once again for joining me tonight. Peace. God bless, and I will see you guys sooner than you think. One.
Them niggas shrink around you, man. You know what I'm saying? They just in the space probably before you was a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But them niggas shrink when you come around. That's why them niggas don't want you around.
Situation with the genders and all of that shit that we've been hearing about. Yeah. And there's nobody better than the gore. Philosophical to come set that bitch off.
Yo, you know